Happy Monday, everyone. What's going on? Welcome to your WWE Raw review for September 12th, 2022. Hope you guys are having a great day. I do want to hit you with a really brief warning. During the countdown there, we did experience one of those delightful interruptions that we seem to have been experiencing over the past several weeks that I've thought to get a handle on here. It may happen again. If it does, it looks like it's just going to be a temporary situation, so I apologize ahead of time for that. But luckily, this is a Raw review, and these reviews aren't super important, but we're in no danger of being cut off or anything like that. But if you have a little bit of interruptions or a pause or anything like that, usually lasts 10 or 15 seconds, and we're right back up. But my little kilobytes per second shit is all over the place here, up to 7,500, down to 1,800. It doesn't know what it wants to do. So just in case, keep that in mind as we go through here. But welcome to the Raw review tonight. I would like to see your grades for the show, A, B, C, or D, 0 through 10. Let me know what you thought of the show tonight. I thought it was a decent, well-balanced show. I thought we had some really good matchups. We had Riddle and Balor and Gargano and Gable. I thought that was great. Even Sonya Deville and Bianca Belair had a pretty competitive match, which was nice to see, and told a pretty good story at the end with Dominik and Edge, and we crowned new champions tonight as well. So overall, I thought the show was pretty good. It was easy for me to watch. I wasn't bored to sleep, and found some of the things on the show interesting, but we can't expect every Raw to have some big, huge surprise or some return. Tonight did not feel like this place where they would bring a Sasha Banks back or anything like that. I thought we would have a typical Raw, and pretty much we did, but they still gave us some decent content tonight and some good wrestling, and that's what's important, right? So hit me with your feelings about the show in the chat there, and do me a favor while you're here, smash that thumbs up button for me and give this video a like. I would be so grateful, and if you are not a subscriber, consider doing so. This is a pretty cool channel to hang out at. We're all cool here, really fun group of people, really fun community, and a really, really fun family. Speaking of family, those of you who are members, we are going to be doing our first members-only watch-along this Friday. We're going to be doing that at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 o'clock on the East Coast. It's really the best time for me to do it. Unfortunately, I know that time slot is not going to work for everyone, and I apologize for that, but you can still watch these on demand as long as you are a channel member. But I took some suggestions from the members on what Monday Night Raw to watch, and the winning vote was Raw from October 7th, 2002, the very first ever Raw Roulette. So we're going to watch that on Friday. If you'd like to join us, you can become a channel member by clicking the join button below or the link in the description. And on Sunday, we have a watch-along open to everybody, all subscribers, like we do most Sundays, and we are going to watch a show that I was at, WWE Unforgiven 1999. The links to both of these are already on the channel. You can go save them for later on. And if you remember, the link to that video is in the description. Unforgiven 99 is just on my watch-alongs playlist. So go save those videos and join us this week. Also, another scheduling note for you. It's possible and pretty likely I actually am going to miss this week's Dynamite live reaction. Looks like I'm going to have to work. I could probably get out of it and figure something out, but I'm not going to stress it because the one I want to see most is the one the week after, Grand Slam, the week after this Wednesday. So my plan is to maybe, if I'm not available for Wednesday's Dynamite, which it looks like I'm not, I might make up the watch-along that I missed last night because we didn't do a watch-along last night, might come up on Thursday and do something there. So that would be a lot of watch-alongs. That would be a watch-along Thursday, Friday for members, and then Sunday for everybody. And I know that's a lot, but we'll have a podcast in the middle of that as well. So just keep that in mind. Probably no Dynamite live reaction this Wednesday, but I will definitely be here the following Wednesday after that for Grand Slam, because that is when we are going to crown Bryan Danielson as the new AEW World Champion. I've been harping on it. It's all I talked about in the podcast on Saturday, and it's all I talked about in the live reaction last Wednesday when we were watching Dynamite. Bryan Danielson, in my mind, is the literally only guy in the company right now in this moment in AEW to carry that title, and that's who I'm strapping up at Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe's Danielson, and I don't see it going any other way. So we are going to watch that together, definitely at Grand Slam, but most likely this week's Dynamite is out. So just keep that in mind. You're still going to get a whole lot of my bald ass, but you're just going to be missing me on Wednesday, most likely. So that is all I really have to tell you guys about the schedule. We look to be good. Our connection is everything is still solid, but like I said, if we get a quick interruption, just chill. I'll be back up in 10 seconds. We've been a little shoddy tonight, but nothing I can do about that. Where are we here? Let me cruise all the way to the chat and say hello. By the way, JJ Leg, channel member there. Good to see those icons starting to change now that we are a month into the channel memberships. That's really cool. JJ Leg was the guy that selected or suggested, Monday Night Raw, the Raw Roulette episode, and there was a lot of good suggestions, but I kind of perused the results of all of the shows that were recommended, and that's the show that I think we could probably have the most fun watching because everything is just straight up bonkers. So if you want to enjoy the first ever Raw Roulette, you can do so this coming Friday by joining the family. But good to see Roderick, J. Lambo, Ben, Big J, Ronnie Matthews, and Destiny, Red Raven Rucker, another channel member in the house. We've got Vince McMahon, Snowflake, Trey Williams, who we love. Good to see you, my man. Well, I promise we will not insult Vince McMahon too much. We offend delicate flower, Trey Williams. Can't have that. Good to see you, Yachiro, as well. Nick Musser in the house. So is Zach Palgett and George Morris chiming in with the $5 as usual. Thank you very much, my friend. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? How are your cats? Raw 0 out of 10. Do you think next month we can do Bad Blood 97? Watch along and Raw night after. I think we are back. Sorry about that. That might happen a couple times during the stream. I don't know what the hell's going on, but hopefully that won't be too bad. But anyway, I was in the middle of answering George Morris's super chat talking about what to do in the month of October. So the members only watch alongs I want to kind of limit to 2-hour shows. So those are both really good suggestions, Bad Blood 97 or the Raw After or both. And I think the Raw the night after might be really fun because that was where DX played the curtain call footage. That was also the very awkward Melanie Pillman interview. It's the night where Sean stuck the Canadian flag up his nose and danced around. Very weird night, but an interesting night. And of course, we had just lost Brian Pillman the day before. So it was a crazy time in the business. And yeah, George, remind me of that for October. I think we can get it done. I also want to say hello to Mike Witt, Victor Colon, Michael Kumo, Regina, Latre, White, Zane G, Victor Colon. Oh, I got you already, Victor. And all the channel members that are here. I don't want to miss you guys. Big Dub, Pierre Lewis is here as well. Deshaun Robinson in the house. And so is Spaz Phoenix chiming in with a very generous $20. Canadian, sup Greg, Cat in the chat. I'd love for you and your audience could check out the very first WWE Last Week pod that dropped this morning. This series will be a look back at the week that was in WWE every Monday morning at 10 a.m. like WWF Mania with Todd Pettengill, except it's on Monday instead of Saturday. Go check out Spaz Phoenix's channel and give that podcast a listen, and it'd be a good way to catch yourself up if you do tend to miss a few things like I tend to do whenever I'm trying to make my notes for my weekly podcast. Sometimes you need places where you can go get caught up. Spaz would be a good place to do that. I'm sure he will provide a pretty detailed report of what you missed. Thank you for that, Spaz, and go check him out. Who else did we miss? Ronnie, I think I got you. Denny Downbad, G-Man, excuse me. And everybody else that's here. God, I hope I got all the channel members. I know there's a lot of you here. But anyway, let's jump in to the news first, I guess. We should mention a little bit of wrestling news because there has been a little bit of clarification on the story that was reported this week about the Bucks potentially sending out feelers through another talent to WWE to possibly inquire about joining them when their contract is up in 2024. Turns out these were reports and rumors that were circling before the events of All Out even took place, before the big fracas and the Pier 6 that took place backstage. These were already some rumors that were floating around. So I don't know if the Bucks were part of that contract tampering nonsense as well. Maybe that was something that AEW considered across the, over the line. But those are the type of things that we've said you can't really police, and it's something that's really always happened. We haven't had real wrestling competition here in quite some time, but even back in the day, before Scott Hall and Kevin Nash left WWE, they had already had their deals kind of locked in with WCW for the most part. They already knew what they were going to get paid if they went over there. So sometimes you can talk through people and get some ideas and gauge interest if the company's interested in you, or vice versa, or what kind of deal you can get. I think now that we have this competition, any talent who just blindly signs with one side is doing themselves a disservice. They should at least see what the other side will give them. So that's what I'd be doing if I was a talent, and that's probably all the situation is with the Bucks. But the timing of it, since the story kind of was making the rounds right after the big scuffle at All Out, it had a lot of fans talking that, oh my God, the Bucks must be really pissed. But it's all about context, and it turns out that this is just stuff that the Bucks were already doing. I mean, they're friends with a lot of guys, friends with Kevin Owens, God knows who else, who they just randomly text message or whatever. Just like, hey, if you're ever in the same room with Triple H, try to get an idea if he'd be even interested at all in bringing us in when our contracts are up. And if he's like, hell yeah, then just let me know that so I can kind of be prepared and maybe get some negotiating done when my contract is up. That's all pretty natural and normal, and I think it's something that all talent is going to be doing. But, if, when you're talking about tampering and things like that, it's going to be really hard to kind of police that stuff because it's always really happened and it's always gone on back in the territory days and back in the WWE and WCW days. Guys kind of talked to folks and had secret meetings and shit like that, so that happened all the time. But it doesn't look like the Bucks are leaving anytime soon, although, if their deals are coming up in 2024, you would think Tony Khan's going to want to get an extension done next year. And if that was, if the timing was a little bit later and their contracts were coming up really soon, I think Tony Khan would be in severe danger of losing the Bucks. But now I think there's enough time that can go by. I think AEW has already began the healing process here, and guys have, banded together. So if the Bucks can come in and make whatever amends they need to make, Kenny can too. Hopefully get back into the, AEW fold, because the whole damn company is named after that. Could you imagine having All Elite Wrestling and the Elite is not in it? It's mind-blowing to even think about. It's crazy enough to see Cody in WWE. As awesome as that decision turned out to be for him, and as happy as we all are for him, it's still crazy to see him there. Could you imagine if the Bucks and Kenny joined him? Fucking crazy, man. So I think, at the end of the day, like we've talked about, in extreme detail throughout the last week, CM Punk has got to go. He absolutely has to. Just what he did and how he behaved was just completely out of line, regardless of whether or not you think it was justified or not. He stepped over the line. He did something that's about as more unprofessional than any unprofessionalism than he's accusing anybody else of. Even if he's right about all those things, you combine all of those acts of unprofessionalism, combine them into one, it's still not as bad as what he did sitting next to his boss and trashing, executives in the company and talking and speaking in the manner that he did. And he's supposed to be a leader. He didn't exhibit any leadership qualities or skills to me at all in that scrum. He exhibited somebody who's arrogant and easily pissed off and just an all-around uncooperative person, it seems. Even if he has a gripe, he just takes it 10 times worse and makes the whole situation so much worse. And look at what that whole situation has caused. Forget about who started it. These, like CM Punk himself said, these aren't children. He believes they are, but none of these men are children. They're grown men, all of them. So there should be none of that who started it stuff or whatever. You're all professionals. You're all making millions of dollars. To behave this way is crazy. That's the type of shit you'd expect from the dishwashing crew at Olive Garden fighting over the better shifts or something. It's just not something that professionals, who do. And it's embarrassing. It embarrassed the whole company. It's the darkest week and weekend in AEW's history. And it's all because of that dissension and these bad feelings and these personal issues and these beefs that for whatever reason weren't resolved and boiled over to the degree where 4 champions had to be stripped and suspended. And they're 4, humongous parts of the company. 3 guys helped build it. The other guy was brought in to help lead it or to lead it. And that's incredibly sad that is broken down. So, we still have a lot of answers to get as the investigation unfolds, like we talked about. But, in the meantime, we'll just sit and wait, find out what happens, hear if anybody, permanently parts ways. And hopefully my prediction of Danielson wearing the gold in about a week or so comes true, because I think that's the decision that needs to be made. So that's the latest on the AEW front and all that stuff. And we'll get into Monday Night Raw now. Oh, Mike Witt, Season 5 of Cobra Kai. I'm about to start my second run-through of Cobra Kai tonight. Elizabeth has not seen it. She lets me watch Cobra Kai by myself because it's so crazy, and I want to watch it when it first comes out, and sometimes she's not available to watch it, and I spend a lot of time on the internet, so if I don't watch it right away, I'm going to get spoiled, so I kind of have to just get it all out, and I loved it, and she is now going to watch it. And we're going to run through probably every episode tonight. Once we're done, we're going to have some dinner. We're going to sit down and bust out all 10 episodes tonight, and she's going to love it. I can't wait to watch it a second time and pick up all the things that I missed, but it was easily the best season of Cobra Kai ever, and just as a kid and a guy that can recite all 3 movies by heart, and the whole Karate Kid franchise being so important to me as a human and as a kid and an adult, it's so surreal and awesome to see this universe still existing and to see a world where Mike Barnes, Johnny Lawrence, and Chosen are fighting Terry Silver. That to me is just awesome. And the whole season was great. Chosen was the MVP easily. And even though I think they could have wrapped it up nicely, and if they had to end Cobra Kai here, it would work, but they're definitely doing season 6. There's way too many stories to be told, and I loved it. And shout out to Stingray, who sang Judas and on Cobra Kai. I took a video of it and tweeted it. Jericho hit it with a retweet, and that blew my mind. But there's also a lot of wrestling references in Cobra Kai, and there has been ever since the first season, so that kind of makes it even more special, because there's that little crossover to the other part of my life with wrestling. So I've absolutely loved the Cobra Kai series, and season 5 was the best. Easily the best in my mind. But anywho, we got to talk about Monday Night Raw. Keep smashing that thumbs up button for me. Subscribe, all that good stuff. The show opens up with a Seth Rollins promo. By the way, they're in Portland, Oregon tonight. Seth Rollins promo where he discusses wanting gold. There were some rumors floating around earlier today that I saw about Seth Rollins potentially being a challenger for Bobby Lashley, and we would see that come together later on in the show. As Tito is making a bunch of noise down there. But he kind of hints to the fact that he wants some gold. He would have a confrontation with Bobby Lashley later on, but he didn't have a chance to call him out here or anything because he was interrupted by Riddle. Now, I like the fact that Riddle came out without a scooter. He was walking straight to the ring. I want to see more out of that, more out of Matt Riddle like that. I think he needs just to be a hair less goofy and just a little bit more serious, and he can really be a machine. He gets in the ring. He brawls with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins runs away through the crowd, and that's when the Judgment Day comes out. So that was kind of random. Judgment Day comes out. It's Balor and Priest, and they basically try to recruit Matt Riddle, offering him a spot in Judgment Day, which is just ridiculous. Like them offering a spot to him in Judgment Day of all people. That's the weirdest person in the world to offer a spot in your dark type of faction. But he basically just says no, bro. I even put that on Twitter. I said, just say no, bro. And literally as I tweeted it, he goes, no, bro, which I thought was pretty funny. Balor even delivers a line, something to the effect of, he knows the laws are a little bit more relaxed here in Portland, so maybe Matt Riddle's brain is a little foggy, kind of like that. We go to commercial. We come back, and we've got Finn Balor versus Matt Riddle. So this is a hell of a match on paper, one-on-one to see. This is a match that could easily be for the Intercontinental title at any WrestleMania or large pay-per-view if they were ever in some sort of a story or program together. But this is just kind of a one-off match. Riddle, who has a lot of history with Damian Priest, that Damian Priest alluded to in the promo when he was trying to recruit Riddle, how he goes way back with Ripley and Riddle will be a perfect fit, yada, yada, yada. But Priest is a big factor in this match, interfering several times until finally Rey Mysterio comes out and chases away Damian Priest. Rollins then shows up, and he's able to interfere, allowing Finn Balor to hit the coup de grace on Riddle for the win. And then after the match, Seth slithers into the ring and hits Riddle with a stomp for good measure. So Matt Riddle is taking a hell of an ass kicking from Seth Rollins. He was beaten up prior to SummerSlam. He was beaten up in the build to Clash at the Castle. He was beaten at Clash at the Castle. Here he's getting his ass kicked again. At some point, Riddle's going to have to get some revenge on Seth, and I think they will probably set that up next week, as we would see later on. Rollins would confront and have a conversation with Bobby Lashley, who just looks awesome with those glasses, doesn't he? Has a confrontation with Bobby Lashley backstage where he proposes a U.S. title match for next week, and Bobby Lashley agrees, so that match is now set. Rollins versus Lashley, one-on-one for the U.S. title, and as much as I would like to see gold once again around the waist of Seth Rollins, I don't want to see that at the expense of the Bobster. So I'm hoping that Riddle finally gets a little bit of revenge on Seth Rollins next week, costs him the U.S. title against Bobby Lashley. That will infuriate Rollins, and that will be when we set up our Extreme Rules match between the two with some sort of stipulation, which you know you're going to get. So that's the way I see that going, unless Triple H feels that's too predictable, so let's change it up and maybe even put the belt on Rollins. Who knows? But I feel like Riddle will, I don't think they're going to beat Seth clean, even though he is in there with Lashley. I still don't think that's a match you're just going to do clean. I think something's got to happen. So Riddle coming out there and affecting the match in some way, allowing Lashley to put Seth in the hurt lock, and maybe Seth has no choice but to tap out. Then he's pissed. Riddle cost him the U.S. title. I challenge you at Extreme Rules in a what the fuck ever match on a pole, and that's what we do. So that's kind of the way I see it going next week, and I'm sure you guys can kind of sniff that out as well. I don't know what was going on in this next promo, but of course we have Dominik and Edge coming up in the main event, which we know about. But before that, we get this kind of like dark Dominik promo, and it's like the changes camera angles a bunch, and he's just completely surrounded by black. It's just his face. It reminded me of those. Some of you kids will have no fucking clue what I'm about to say here, but for those of you who might be my age, remember those old 1980s Olin Mills photos, like those family photos that you could get done, and there would always be like a fade effect or something, or a cross dissolve in the background with some blackness and stuff, and that's what it reminded me of. Like Dominik was taking his school picture or some shit in 1986. Funny stuff, but not good. Talked about why he did what he did and his flimsy ass reasonings behind why he thinks Ray isn't a good father. And then you see Rhea Ripley come into frame and she whispers in his ear, and clearly she is completely controlling and manipulating him, which I think is awesome for Dominik. He probably lets her do anything to him, which I think is really good for him. It's good for him. It's going to man him up. And Rhea is probably rocking his world. So he's in no hurry to leave right now. And he's getting revenge on Buddy for what happened to his sister. I love it. So seeing Rhea being the one clearly driving the Dominik ship is a good story, because he's a young kid. He's impressionable, like a lot of kids are. They're very easily influenced, and it doesn't take much to brainwash a young person. And that's what they're going for here. Dominik will eventually see the error of his ways. He will come around. He will learn from this mistake. He will have a tearful reunion with his dad. And, with this journey that he's gone on, in the end will hopefully make him a better man and a better professional wrestler. But I know that people aren't a huge fan of Dominik's. He's mediocre at best in the ring, and he's really bad on the mic. But the funny thing is when we were watching the A&E documentary on Ray, I thought that was when Dominik felt the most genuine to me, because he was being genuine. But I didn't see a kid that was annoying to me or anything like that. Like when he was speaking, he was funny, he had a couple funny things to say, and I'm like, he really probably does have a performer in him. It's just got to come out, and he's just got to get that with experience. So people can argue that, he doesn't deserve this main roster spot. He's getting it simply because of who his dad is. If he's just Joe Schmo off the street, you put him in NXT. I don't know if he's on the main roster right now. Fair enough, but guess what? Have you met wrestling? Have you met wrestling? How many people have gotten jobs because of their parents? Let's not start making that an issue now. Dominik at least isn't bad in the ring, and he's not David Flair. I think he's definitely on a better level and another level than that. But, nepotism is something that is existing and always will exist. And you can bet your bottom dollar that when one of Little Miz's little girls or Becky and Seth's kid is ready to wrestle, they're going to fucking wrestle. So the train ain't slowing down. After that, we had the women's tag team title on the line. Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah defending against Dakota Kai and Io Sky. I said it right that time. As soon as this match was announced, I said, we're going to get new tag team champions. And the reason I say that is because I was surprised enough that Raquel and Aaliyah won the belts in the finals. I think that was Triple H just trying to throw us off, because it felt very obvious that Dakota and Io would win the titles when they didn't. It took them in another direction. Raquel and Aaliyah, I think, had one successful title defense, but Aaliyah's been drawing a lot of criticism as well for her in-ring work. She kind of spoiled the outcome of the title match when she came out during the finals of the tournament. She was like crying in the entranceway, totally giving it away that she's about to win some gold. And people haven't been too kind to her in terms of her in-ring work and stuff. And I don't know, it's just a team that's, both these teams are odd that they're even together, considering Io Sky and Dakota Kai's history, and Raquel and Dakota's, who used to be together, and Dakota and Io, who have had their history of problems and shit. It's an odd pairing as it is, but I still feel like Dakota and Io, part of Damage Control, is a much better team to win these titles right now, considering they're part of a brand new faction that just got created. They just got moved up to the main roster. They both have good wrestling resumes and backgrounds, and the fans like them, and they're credible. You know, they should be the ones to be champs right now. Plus, if Sasha and Naomi ever come back, or if they ever decide to leave their apparent modeling careers now and get back in the ring, then that would be a much better and more interesting match in my mind, having Sasha and Naomi take on Dakota and Io, with Bayley being in the middle of that instead of Raquel and Aaliyah. Because with Bayley there, you could do a turn, you know. If Sasha and Naomi come back, they challenge Io and Dakota. Bayley is in, you know, Io and Dakota's corner. Maybe she turns on the two of them, joins up with her old friend Sasha and Naomi, and they create a stronger faction. I don't know what a step up from the word Damage Control would be. I pitched the idea of having Gunther and Matt Hardy join the group so they can be Damage Control, Walt, Delete. I think that would be fun. But in terms of Bayley being kind of the wild card in that, that's why it would make so much more of an interesting match. And that's why I think if Sasha and Naomi are going to come back, Dakota and Io, I think, should be the ones to be champs when they do. So maybe that could be a sign that Sasha and Naomi are on their way back. But, you know, it's kind of an off time of year. It's September. It's Extreme Rules time. You know, a Sasha return or a Naomi return, I would feel like would need to be on a much bigger stage or a much bigger Raw or something. Bringing them back here in this time of year, I don't know, but it could be a way to spice things up as well. So we'll monitor that. But in the meantime, we have new tag team champions. Io took out Raquel Rodriguez with a moonsault on the outside of the ring, allowing Dakota to hit her finisher on Aaliyah for the win. And that was how they captured the titles. And that was the way I would have booked it. I even said on Twitter during the match, when I was so certain that Raquel and Aaliyah were going to lose, I'm like, I would have Raquel dominate, kick both of their asses throughout the whole match, but Aaliyah gets trapped, gets caught, eats the pin, loses the championships for the team, and then maybe Raquel just attacks Aaliyah or beats her down or something like that. Or maybe after the match, Raquel's dominance in the match was something that impressed Bayley, and then maybe Bayley approaches her of joining her crew. You should be with us. Instead of smiling and showing your back off to the camera, you should be killing people. You're a big, strong woman. That's what you should be doing, big, strong woman things. So dump Aaliyah, get out of that stupid tag team, stop fucking smiling so much, and start kicking some ass. Maybe she can do that now that apparently that team should not stay together anymore at this point. They might get some sort of random rematch, which they will lose. Maybe that's where you turn Raquel. But keeping Raquel and Aaliyah together as a team moving forward in this division, no. Why even would you at this point? So we'll see what happens. In the back, we get Rey Mysterio pleading to Dominik. He won't even look at Rey, just looking straight ahead, clearly controlled by Rhea Ripley, who kind of comes in and tells Rey to buzz off. And Rey also he tells Dominik that, you know, he knows Edge, and Edge won't hold back. He goes, I would hold back, but Edge won't. I know him, and I've never seen him this pissed, and I'm just trying to protect you. But Dominik is having absolutely none of it. After that, we had the in-ring return of Johnny Gargano taking on Chad Gable. My God, is that a sexy matchup? Jesus. I thought this one was going to be fun because they're two guys very similar. I think they've had a couple of run-ins in NXT as well back in the day, I believe, right, as part of tag teams. And I'm such a huge Chad Gable fan, and we just got done watching Balor and Riddle earlier on, and now Triple H is throwing Chad Gable and Johnny Gargano at us. That is just lovely. Thank you, Triple H, for that. That's why you are our papa. But really good match here. I don't know, 17 minutes, 16 minutes. Pretty good little match here between the two. One final beat for the win after just a really good wrestling exhibition. A lot of counters, a lot of reversals, and some submissions. Good stuff from both guys. Love it. And no issue with Gargano winning because he should. It's his first match back, and of course he's going to win. This, after the match, Otis runs in there, but he gets taken out. Johnny Gargano takes care of him, and then he gets hit with the briefcase from behind by Theory, who has been, he was the one that confronted Gargano in his return. So we then go to commercial. We come back. Theory is still in the ring. He's cutting a promo. And Owens winds up coming out and cutting. It was very reminiscent, sort of the promo he cut with Drew McIntyre a few weeks back. And it was the promo of a lifetime. and started slow, talking about Theory, who kind of brags and shit. And he talked about how Theory's a dime a dozen guy, but people like Owens and Gargano are 1 in a million. Even bringing up the fact that Theory was the chosen one for the previous era. He's not that way anymore. He won a match he wasn't even supposed to be in. Every single thing he's gotten has been handed to him. And he even brought up when his Universal Championship was given to him and handed to him, and how that made him change and grow as a performer, and you have to go out there and do the work. And he basically motivated Theory and got right in his face and just started screaming at him on the importance of, being tough and going out there and putting the work in and not resorting to cheap bullshit. And the way he was delivering it and the way he was getting rolling and the way his voice was amping up and the closer he was getting to Theory's face, it was like, holy shit. If you are ever unmotivated at all, just play yourself that promo. It'll get you right up. I had a load of clothes in the washing machine that I just really didn't feel like putting in the dryer. But after Kevin Owens cut that promo, I figured I better get off my ass and go do that, because that's just lazy. And he lit a fire perhaps under Theory, because after he got done screaming this amazing, career-making promo at him, he slaps the shit out of his face, and then they start brawling, and I think he immediately tags him with a pretty hard right hand right to the nose that bloodies up and possibly has broken Theory's nose. And it was just an amazing all-around segment, promo, and brawl between the two, and it looks like the issue between them is not over. He got the win over Theory last week, but they are set to face again next week now on Raw in a return, and maybe considering how badly Theory got owned in this entire segment, he's due for some sort of shenanigan win over Owens, or he's due for a clean win over Owens, showing that it was Owens' own words that did the motivation for Theory to beat him. So they could maybe go that way and try to build. Maybe that's Triple H's goal with Theory, because he had the Vince McMahon stamp of approval to the point where Vince was even in segments on TV with him, so the fans naturally are going to reject him. Even if it's only a storyline, it might be that way behind the scenes too, because sometimes Vince McMahon just needs to look at a guy and he gets an erection as big as me, and once he decides on somebody, he just kind of goes with it. And if that was the case with Theory, maybe Triple H is like, he's already got the briefcase. The Money in the Bank briefcase is already his. I can't undo that. And I don't want to treat him like Kennedy or just beat him for the briefcase and make him a joke. Let's see if we can redeem him. Let's see if we can build him up. Let's see if we can get the fans actually to respect him. So you have a come to Jesus meeting with Kevin Owens. He's been put in his place a few times already by some, veterans and whatnot. And now Kevin Owens just basically punks him out, slaps him in his face, and fights him. And now if you set a one-on-one matchup with Theory, and he's able to win and beat a major opponent clean, that might... He's a heel, so I don't think anybody's too concerned with the fans liking him or anything, but in terms of the fans that, just kind of are just naturally rejecting him right now, if he starts putting in good work, the fans at least are going to appreciate that, and maybe they won't freak out so bad if WWE actually does decide to pull the trigger on him. If that fool would have walked out of SummerSlam with those titles, that would have been bad. But if you put him, in a program, or you put him in some angles over the next several months that build up his credibility, whenever you do pull the trigger on that, maybe the fans aren't going to be so disgusted about it. They still might not like it because he's a heel and shit like that, but at least they're not, oh, this is a disgrace. This is almost as bad as when WCW put the title on David Arquette. No, this guy actually is a professional wrestler. He does have a good look. He's got some marketability to him. He's got some presence to him. He has been compared to John Cena. When you hear a lot of that stuff, instantly pushing him is going to have the fans instantly reject him. So you got to kind of build him up a little bit, and maybe that's what they're doing here. So if that's the story, then I'm fine with that, because Kevin Owens is so... I don't know how Triple H was sitting at Gorilla with a headset on watching that promo by Kevin Owens and not being like, damn, we got to put the title on this guy right now. it's time to make him a champion again. He's so far overdue. And I think there is a plan in place in Triple H's mind to make Kevin Owens a champion again. But you got a lot of work to do before that happens. Roman's not even dropping the belts this year. You still have to figure out a way to unify these things so you can have Cody win one and then maybe Owens win the other at WrestleMania, or, I don't know, something fun. You can still do Rock. Imagine if Cody and Kevin Owens both win world titles at WrestleMania and then Roman and The Rock are like in the middle of that. That would be awesome. So they could build up a really good WrestleMania this year if you are able to, separate out these titles. But there's a lot of guys, at the top, and a lot of guys doing great work right now that I think should deserve a crack at the title, but none of them better than Kevin Owens. A lot of people talk about Cody. Cody was very impressive in his 2 months there, but he got hurt right away. Kevin Owens has been there, and he's been putting the work in, and I think over WWE opportunities, Kevin Owens deserves it more than Cody. Cody just might have the better story, but I think the fans would absolutely love to see Kevin Owens 1 year after having his WrestleMania main event loss to Stone Cold Steve Austin, 1 year later, full circle WrestleMania main event victory for the WWE title or Universal title. I would love to see that, and to maybe see it go opposite of the way Owens was referring to tonight in his promo, where it was handed to him. This time he wins it, and wins it for real, wins it clean. Great moment. I think that would be awesome for WrestleMania, and I'm going to be there. So if that happens in front of my eyes, that's going to be great. So we'll see what happens with Owens and Theory and all that shit next week. Bianca Belair also had an open challenge tonight on Raw, where she's going to come out there and just say, anybody wants to come out can come out. Sonya Deville winds up answering the challenge, so there's no funny business here or anything like that. Sonya just flat out came out and blamed, of course, Bianca Belair for being the reason that she lost her authority role in WWE. And they had a pretty good match here. I thought it was maybe going to be Bianca beating her in 4 minutes, but it was a little competitive. I like that because Sonya's a badass. Sonya's tough. I would like to see her become a credible women's contender again, and she really hasn't been that and hasn't felt that way since she's been back. It's crazy. So at some point, I would really like to get Sonya built up as a credible contender, and potentially with both these belts, put one of these belts on Sonya Deville, because I think that would be great if Sonya Deville was either the Raw or SmackDown Women's Champion whenever they move Mandy Rose back up to the main roster, which has to come soon because she's doing absolutely phenomenal work in NXT, and at some point you need to bring that star up because she's a star down there, and she was doing great work before they sent her down there, and she really kind of honed everything and just doing great. The little bit that I've seen of Mandy down there and that Toxic Attraction stuff, it's good, and she's good, and she just unified the two titles at Worlds Collide, correct? So at some point she'll have to come up whenever she drops that belt or whatever. It would be cool if Sonya was holding one of the two titles whenever that happened. That would make for some fun stuff all these years later after what happened at that SummerSlam and the home invasion and all that stuff that poor Sonya and Mandy had to go through. So then they had a good little program that was supposed to end in that hair versus hair match, and it kind of got a little bit fucked up at the end, and they never really got maybe quite the payoff they were hoping for just because of circumstances. Plus, it was in the middle of COVID and all of that. But man, you try to revisit this a couple of years later with who they are now, that could be a program for the ages. But you got to get Sonya to that level where fans would give a fuck about it. So I'm glad that she gave Bianca a run for her money tonight because Sonya's great. And I like that match a lot. KOD, by the way, for the win after the women put in a pretty good few minutes. After the win, Bayley came out, starts talking shit to Bianca Belair. The damage control surrounds the ring. Poor Bianca is cornered. But, of course, her friends, Alexa and Asuka, come out to make the save and chase everybody off and whatnot. So that was that with Bianca Belair. And, of course, we are going to be getting, most likely, I don't think they've announced it officially, in Bayley's promo, I don't think that she challenged Bianca at Extreme Rules, but that's the match we're getting clearly, and we'll see if that has some sort of stipulation to it at all. Yeah, TGA Gaming Theory facing Gargano or Owens at Extreme Rules seems likely to me. Zach can't stand Aaliyah and Raquel. Ronnie, what's up, buddy? Tatanani, good to see you, man. I almost picked your Raw for the watch-along, but I decided to go with Raw Roulette instead. Yeah, we did have title changes tonight. Didn't you see the thumbnail? We got new women's tag team champions. Yeah, ooh, wow, we got to wrap this up. What an audience. That's bad. I mean, you guys are awesome, but I've seen better numbers over here, that's for sure. Anyway, let's wrap up these Raw results. Omos was up next. 2 jobbers. Beat the hell out of them. 2 local kids, obviously. Probably one of the worst snake eye sells I've ever seen. Omos picked up this frosted tip fella and dropped him right on the turnbuckle face first, but it looks so terrible. Omos, of course, did pull off the huge upset by beating these 2 guys, so Omos was victorious there. I didn't catch their names because I didn't care. Next up was when we got that Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley backstage segment, setting up the U.S. title match next week, and then we get The Miz interviewed, or he's about to do an interview at his home, and you see his 2 daughters run up to him, and he's like, oh, go get ready or go upstairs or whatever he was talking to them about. And then Maurice shows up, and he's very kind of paranoid, and Maurice is telling him to chill out. He's never going to come to our house. Don't worry. And Miz is like, don't say his name, and I don't trust him, and I believe he's capable of anything. And Maurice is trying to convince the Miz that everything's going to be okay. Meanwhile, in the background, you can see Dexter Lumis in the window, 2 different windows. He's moving around and peering in and basically just stalking these people. And I was a little bit freaked out at first. I thought Miz had sent his daughters upstairs and then him and Maurice left. That's what I thought happened at first. And then like Dexter is in the house, and I'm like, this is taking a turn for the dark. You know, this guy is stalking. This is why I think the Miz deserves so much credit for the great heel that he is. This guy is such an asshole. This guy's such a shithead. Fans dislike him so much that you have a home invading lunatic who is stalking Miz, his wife, and his 2 extremely young daughters, and this man is the babyface. The home invading lunatic, the home invading stalking lunatic is the babyface. This is a man and his 3 female family members, his 2 daughters and his wife. They are being tormented, stalked, and their house is being broken into by a psycho, but the fans are rooting for the psycho and not Miz. Miz is such a heel that he's made his 2 little daughters heel, who are just innocent in all this. And so far, this is all pretty fun. But once Miz and Maurice get in the car, and I'm hoping the daughters were in there too, and they drive away, the camera shows Dexter now in the house, drawing a picture of Miz's family and showing it to the camera or whatever. So he's in their home now. So I hope he doesn't crawl into one of those little girls' beds, and then when they come home, he's like, surprise. So I don't know what Dexter's doing in that house right now. He's probably still there. He might be rummaging through, some of the personal effects of Maurice, maybe trying some of her lingerie on. I don't know. He might be wiping his ass with some of Miz's headbands and scarves. That might be fun. Maybe giving their bed a nice brown hornet. Who knows? But hopefully he's having fun in there. I mean, we did see Seth Rollins enter Edge's house drinking his fucking milk and shit. So, I mean, it's been done before. But at least Seth was getting heel heat for that. This is making the fans pop. And I guess WWE should just be careful. I really like Dexter Lumis. You guys know I do. Don't tread too far to make this guy too dark, because there are women and children involved here. But it could be a good way to do a double turn or something. I mean, they could keep upping everything week by week, Dexter getting more aggressive, more dark, more dangerous, more scary, to maybe where even Indy Hartwell's a little freaked out by him. If they wanted to go in that really, really dark direction, or if they're going to try to make him a lovable home invader, I don't know if that's possible. Only WWE can make a home invader a lovable, sympathetic figure, but they seem to be pulling it off. So we'll see what happens there, but clearly we're going to have some sort of a match at Extreme Rules that might involve a home. We might have a home match, at-home match. I don't know. They're brawling through the bathroom and the kitchen and the living room. They could be doing all that stuff. Who knows what kind of stip match they're going to do, but given the nature of what Dexter has been doing to Miz, following him around, stalking him, now entering his own home, and with the pay-per-view being called Extreme Rules, I don't think you just have a one-on-one pro wrestling grappling contest between these guys. They're going to want to try to kill each other. So we'll see what gets booked for Extreme Rules, but it's going to be something. Then we have the main event. Edge one-on-one against Dominik Mysterio. Dominik comes to the ring with Rhea Ripley, his main squeeze, which was awesome. Edge, basically the story they're trying to tell here is this is just going to be tough love from Uncle Adam. and your uncle is going to put down a whooping on you. I'd like to see one of my uncles try. I could kick all my uncles' asses, but Dom has got a pretty tough uncle here in Uncle Adam, and Edge, as he told Rey Mysterio, hey, if it was you, you could go easy on him, but I'm not going to. He needs this. It's going to be good for him. Don't worry, I'm not going to kill him or anything, but I'm going to beat the shit out of him, and he needs that, and just let me do it, Rey. So Rey is really trying to plead with Edge to just go easy on his boy, but Edge is basically just refusing. So the match starts, and Edge basically just punishes Dominik very methodically, just letting him know who's boss. He's got an answer for everything Dominik's trying to do, but eventually Rhea would get involved after Edge kind of dominates early on. She helps out, allows Dom to get the advantage. Okay, I think we're good. Yep. Brief disconnection there. Sorry about that. Anyway, I was talking about Rey and Dominik. I thought Dominik had a really cool counter to the spear when Edge came flying in, and he kind of bridged back and missed it. And, you know, they had some fun back and forth there, but in the end, as long as Rhea Ripley wasn't too much of a factor, Edge was dominating this, and he finally got his hands on Dominik again, tied Dominik up in the ropes, Andre the Giant style, and just started slapping him and punching him and punishing poor Dominik until Rey Mysterio then comes into the ring trying to back Edge off. Don't beat him to death. You know, you're just killing him. But then Edge is attacked by Judgment Day, and he's thrown into the announce table, so he's taken out. And then all of Judgment Day is able to swarm on Edge. Referee, of course, calls for the bell, disqualification. Edge is going to win this match via DQ, and the entire Judgment Day starts wearing Edge out with the chair, smashing his leg to shit. And since Edge really isn't a part-time guy, I don't know if this is something just to, you know, temporarily write him off of TV, but I think Edge is going to probably have a match at Extreme Rules, or maybe it's going to be Dominik. Maybe Edge is written off TV right now, and it's going to be Rey versus Dominik at Extreme Rules. Maybe that's where they're going here, but based on how badly they smashed Edge's leg up with the chair, the big family photo with the entire Judgment Day standing over Edge was pretty good. We might see Edge off of TV for a few weeks, or maybe until Extreme Rules passes, unless this is setting something up for him to do at Extreme Rules. And it might be Edge and Rey versus Dominik and two others or one other. I don't know. But we will see. Pretty good main event. Dominik, I guess, did his best to hold his own against Edge, but it was basically Edge dominating for the most part there. But the Judgment Day would get the last laugh in the end by putting down Edge. And that was pretty much your Monday Night Raw. So I thought the show was pretty good. It was nice not to see Braun Strowman. A little bit disappointed with his return. Unless they have more to do with him and Triple H has got bigger plans. This is just Triple H's way of reintroducing him to everyone, but I don't think the guy really needs to be reintroduced. He wasn't gone for that long, and he's just kind of coming back like, you know, how he used to be. He would interrupt matches all the time and just like beat the shit out of guys, and sometimes he would do that, but he really didn't have much of a storyline direction, and Vince kind of turned him into, you know, a Big Show 2.0, so you got to try to not make those same mistakes with him, but we didn't see him come out and annihilate anyone for any reason. We will see who the first person turns out to be that he actually works with, unless at Extreme Rules he works a handicap match against Otis and Gable, which seems like a likely direction for WWE, so we could see that. But so far, Strowman being back, it was like he looks great. He definitely physically looks a little different. Now he's wearing the red. He's even a little bit leaner, and he's in like ridiculous shape. But beyond that, it doesn't really feel like he left at all. He's just back to being Braun Strowman. We know what we get with Braun Strowman, and he's just back again. So no longer controlling the narrative. Now he's just wearing red and beating people up. And I didn't even know that him and Raquel Rodriguez had broken up. I didn't even know that. So that's awkward. I think after his return, she was the next match. She came out the very next match after his return, which I think might have been a rib. I don't know. But I didn't even know they had broken up. I thought they were still together. So anyway, that is our Raw in a nutshell. Let me cruise over here to the chat, see if anybody's got any stuff to say or questions at all. Yeah, Zach, that interruption was very, very brief. Very brief. Thank you for that, Vash. Happy to be your Papa too. Ted Matrix, good to see you. Thank you for being here as always. I don't like kids, so a 3-year-old as a heel works for me. That's funny. Poor Mrs. daughters, they're little heels. I mean, I don't want Dexter to do nothing to him. Yeah, that I've seen the comparisons between Eddie and Chyna and Rhea and Dominik a lot, and I love that. I would love for Dominik to take Rhea Ripley to the prom or something. It would be so great. I really want them. I think Rhea can bring Dominik out of his shell. I really think. I mean, obviously, that's a relationship that can't last forever. Dominik's going to have to reconcile with his father before Ray finally retires. We know all that's going to happen, but man, Eddie and Chyna was fun. I got to see them wrestle live and in person several times. Even saw Chyna win the Intercontinental title at SummerSlam. And I have fond memories of that duo, and I think Ripley and Dominik can have a lot of those elements to them as well, where they can kind of be, both very credible workers, but they got a little comedy aspect to them too. And it might help turn the fans more in Dom's favor, because so far everything that he's doing has been pretty bad. So maybe you have to try something like that. Just do something to where he's almost like entertaining by accident. I don't know. And maybe he can start coming out of his shell being a little bit funnier, or maybe just the relationship with Rhea can make Dom, I guess, more interesting as a character. That's what I hope anyway. So anyway, I am probably going to get out of here. Yikes. Yeah, but thank you again, everyone, for being here this evening. Sorry, it's kind of a quick Raw review tonight, but it wasn't that eventful of a show, but I wanted to come up here and at least talk about it, since we did miss the watch-along last night and we weren't able to do it. So the next video I have planned is going to be on Thursday. We'll do some sort of a watch-along, unless I can come up here and be here for Wednesday, which I will do the Dynamite live reaction. But right now it's looking like I'm going to miss this week's Dynamite, but I will be here live the week after to watch Grand Slam with you guys. And then this coming Thursday, I will make up for the watch-along we missed last night. We'll do something else instead and hang out on Thursday night. So that'll be a lot of videos hitting the channel. Watch-along Thursday, members-only watch-along on Friday, podcast on Saturday, watch-along on Sunday. And then next Monday night, we might skip Raw based on these numbers here tonight. So probably no Raw review next week unless Sasha Banks and Naomi come back, or if CM Punk jumps over to WWE. So you guys have a good rest of your Monday night. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it, and I will be sure to talk to you real soon. Y'all take care.